Hey folks, so I thought I'd do my due diligence and correct some fake news that I myself was guilty of propagating. So I'm sure you're all familiar with the Project Ireland 2040 campaign, in which the Irish government plans to uh, implement a series of social projects to change Ireland's infrastructure and improve it for the next 22 years. Uh, the one of the claims is that there will be 1 million extra people in Ireland at the time. It doesn't actually say immigrants. They say by 2040 we expect there will be an additional 1 million people that will live in Ireland, and 2/3 of a million people will work here. As you can imagine, and I don't blame people for thinking this because I thought the same thing, it sounds like they're going to be opening the borders. And when you hear stories like the government paid for good news stories over Ireland 2040 plan, you start to get really suspicious. But it is true that these stories aren't actually prepping for mass Muslim migration, although the Washington Post have done a remarkably lazy job of trying to point this out, and I'll show you why in a second. Several websites tie all projected increase in Ireland to immigrants, likely Muslims. Nowhere does it say this. The plan describes projected growth of around 1.1 million over 22 years. The leading nationalities moving to Ireland are the returning Irish citizens, followed by the UK and those from Brazil. For some reason, none of these places actually decided to check the data, which is available on the Centre for Statistics in Ireland, so I thought I would. And it's not actually nearly as bad as it looks. So immigration in 2017 was 84,000, with emigration at 64,000, putting the net migration at just under 20k, and the natural increase in population at 33k, so we're looking at about 52,000 people a year increase in Ireland, which is a small number. And that is mostly natural growth, which in and of itself is good. And if you multiply that by 22, as in the number of years we're expecting this to go on for, that's 1.1 million people. So it's actually really not as bad as was first thought. I wish that the media had done a better job of reporting on this. I probably should have checked into this earlier, I admit, so mea culpa on that. But consider this an update. I actually don't think this is going to be the catastrophe that initially it sounded like, and we have to be careful not to project problems in Britain and other parts of Europe onto places like Ireland where it's not the same case. But I do have to say, my dear Irish friends, if they do suggest that they need more immigration, you have to be you have to be close on that. You have to be right up in their faces and make sure that they know you do not want them to just open the borders. I mean, the net migration of 20,000 a year, that's totally manageable. If Britain's net migration was 20,000 a year, I would be ecstatic. So, and I realise Ireland's a much smaller country, of course, that's a much larger percentage, but it's still a very low number, all things considered. So it could be worse. But yeah, they don't actually seem to have a plan to just open the borders willy-nilly, which is a bloody good thing.